Before you go to the battlefield, you expect an exhilarating, exciting, fun-filled experience. But for the soldiers that were lucky enough to experience it, would say the exact opposite. Let's briefly go over the structure of a trench. They were usually zigzagged to offer extra protection. There was up to 30 meters deep of barbed wire. Men dug trenches into no man's land to listen for any enemy activity. Sandbags and wood were used for safety, and there was always at least 3 lines of trenches. Life in the trenches was very unsanitary. There were rats feasting on corpses. There were lice in every soldier's uniform. And the worst of all, a disease called trench foot, where the constant wet and muddy climate would seep into their boots and get their feet wet until they start swelling and the flesh starts rotting away. Soldiers also faced extreme boredom. Despite having jobs like filling sandbags or cleaning the latrines or toilets, keeping watch for enemies, and maintaining the trenches, that wasn't enough to keep them entertained. They wanted to fight. They were bloodthirsty. When the Battle of Ypres finally started, the Canadian Army was not prepared for what was about to happen. The Germans used a new weapon, gas. Since the Canadians didn't have the right equipment to handle this, a lot of them suffered and died. The gas burned their lungs. Luckily, protection from the gas was found. Urinating into a handkerchief and wrapping it around your face did the trick. The Canadians and British fortunately ended up winning the war, but it was a truly traumatic experience. Now, here's a little story from an actual World War I survivor.
I only signed up for this war to protect my country. I was expecting all that fighting and stuff, but I never imagined it would be as horrendous as it was. The trenches we had built and lived in the whole time, it really was not pleasant. It wasn't what you would expect. Also, I should mention, it was quite boring. There was nothing to do. Me and my buddies, we came up with slang. For example, cheese was called bun because it made us constipated. Now, when it comes to the actual war, nothing really happened until the end. The Germans used gas, which we were totally unprepared for. A lot of us died in very brutal ways. I still remember it vividly, but let's not get into the details. I'm just grateful that I survived it.